Hey everybody, Chris here from O'Reilly Auto Parts to show you how to change front brake pads and rotors on a 2009 to 2014 Ford F-150. Before I get into that, take a second to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any of our new content. Today I'll be changing the pads and rotors on this 2012 F-150 XLT, and procedures will be similar on a lot of F-150s from 2009 to 2014. But be sure to know the specifics for your truck before getting started. If you're not completely comfortable doing this yourself, we'd be happy to recommend a professional technician in your area. Once you've got your supplies together, here's what you'll do. Park on a level surface. If your model has a cap over the hubs, remove it. And use a 21mm socket and breaker bar to loosen the lug nuts on the front wheels. Chock the rear wheels. And lift and support the front end of the truck. Remove the lug nuts completely from the front wheels and take off the wheel where you'll be working first. Turn the steering wheel to give you better access to the caliper. Use a 13mm socket to remove the two caliper mounting bolts. Pull the caliper off and hang it with the caliper hanger, making sure to keep pressure off of the brake line. Now you should be able to take the old pads out of the mounting bracket. And remove the 4 clips. Use your 21mm socket and a breaker bar to loosen the 2 caliper bracket mounting bolts. And remove them. Set your mounting bracket aside for now. Remove the rotor from the hub. Since you're replacing the rotor, it's okay to use a hammer to break it loose if needed. Never hammer a rotor you plan to continue using. Use a wire brush to clean any rust off of the face of the hub. Once it's clean, apply some of your 100% silicone grease to the hub before installing the new rotor. Use brake cleaner and a rag or shop towel to wipe down the friction surfaces of your new rotor. Remember that brake cleaner will strip paint, so use it with caution around any painted areas. Spray down your caliper mounting bracket thoroughly with brake cleaner as well, but don't use a wire brush on it. If it's rusty where the pads or the brake hardware ride, it needs to be replaced. Install your new rotor on the hub. Use a lug nut to keep it in place while you work. Remove the guide pins from the mounting bracket. Wipe them down with a shop towel or rag, and apply fresh silicone grease. Then reinstall them. If they're rusted or pitted, they should be replaced. Install your new brake hardware into the bracket. And use your silicone grease to lubricate where the pads will ride. Reinstall the bracket. Finger tighten the bolts and torque them to 184 foot-pounds. Lubricate the ears of the brake pads with 100% silicone grease and install them in the bracket. For this specific truck, notice one of your pads has ears where the caliper piston will go. Be sure to install this pad on the inside and the one without ears on the outside. Clean the exposed portion of your caliper piston with brake cleaner on a towel or rag. If the rubber boot is cracked or if there's brake fluid leaking, the caliper needs to be replaced. Attach your bleeder tool. And open the bleeder valve by turning it counterclockwise. Use a caliper piston tool or C-clamp to push the piston back into the caliper. Use an old pad between your caliper piston and piston tool. The caliper piston needs to be flush with the caliper housing. Be sure not to pinch the boot, and be sure not to push on the piston itself when you do this. Compress the piston. Old discolored brake fluid and small particles of dirt will be discharged. Retighten the bleeder valve before detaching the bleeder tool. Put the caliper back in place in the bracket, and finger tighten the bolts to hold it in place. Torque these bolts 27 foot-pounds. Don't forget to take the caliper hanger out of the wheel well. Check to make sure the pads are against the rotor and that the piston is flush with the caliper. If you used a lug nut to hold the rotor in place, you can remove it now. Put the wheel back in place and hand tighten the lug nuts, making sure the wheel is seated flush against the hub. Except in unusual circumstances, pads and rotors should be changed in pairs, so repeat these steps on the other side. Lower your vehicle and use a torque wrench to tighten the lug nuts in a star pattern to 150 foot-pounds. Once the job is complete, before you drive anywhere, be sure to pump your brake pedal several times until you feel the pressure return. It should feel the way it did before the brake job. Check your master cylinder and add fluid as needed. To help break in the new components, it's a good idea to test drive your vehicle, slowing it 15 to 20 times from 50 to 30 miles per hour with moderate brake pressure, allowing the brakes to cool in between each slowdown. Try to avoid aggressive stops during the break-in process. Your brakes will probably smell after you've done this, and that's okay. If the odor persists past 500 miles or so, or if you have excessive dust on one wheel, you may have a stuck caliper. And that's it. You'll find everything that you need for this and other jobs at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com. Our DIY videos are designed to help answer questions we get in our stores every day. If you found this one helpful, subscribe to our channel to get all the latest. We'll see you again soon.